Hello, welcome to Melaninandalbinoid.online. I am Lady Abimbola. I'm so excited today because of the fact that I'm very impressed. I'm very happy uh, for the fact that I believe my prayers on Africa is being answered, and Africans are actually taking a very mighty, giant move and very courageous move. And I'm really very excited about that. Today's blog is actually based on what is happening now. I believe, as you know, it's, let me just say, is the final straw that broke the camel's back. For years, for decades, for centuries, the melanin race have been continuously being assaulted, being persecuted, being oppressed, being lied against, our character being maligned. Propaganda is being used to destroy us emotionally, psychologically, and physically. Our finances are continuously under attack and under continuous sabotage. Well, enough is enough. We've actually had enough in the continent, the melanin continent, and the melanin continent are actually reacting. I am Lady Abimbola. I'm originally from the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I'm glad to present to you the fact. But now, Nigerians proudly, I will say that some group of Nigerian barristers, lawyers, they've come together to file a lawsuit against China since our own government is not doing anything about it. Well, we citizens, we're taking it upon ourselves to start acting. Well, as I said, we either choose between a mass impeachment against all our politicians or we go into revolution. But we are trying to still hold those two possibilities and still do things on our own. Like when we Nigerian kicked against any medical practitioner coming from China, but the federal government of Nigeria, well, presided by Muhammad Buhari, actually still brought the Chinese doctors into Nigeria with the excuse that they're coming to treat their own people. I mean, it's so funny. I've never heard that doctors left their own country to come to another country to treat their own people. We obviously it's just an excuse, but an excuse that our own federal government actually permitted. We all know this is just an excuse. There's something else to their visit, and the more we allow the Chinese in the territory of Nigeria, the more we're actually exposing ourselves to be used as guinea pig. Well, we actually, including myself, we fought to the support of Nigerian doctors whom I believe personally did a great job, has been doing a great job for years. They have been doing a great work despite the fact that they have to work in a harsh environment, in an environment that don't give them everything they need to practice, to maximize their professional capabilities. But they're still giving their best in the harsh condition they've been forced into. The teachers are not being paid and military are suffering. So many things is happening in this regime, but the regime keeps, the politicians keeps on ignoring the cry and the cry of SOS of the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, some Nigerian lawyers, they took it upon themselves to actually file a report, to actually take legal actions against China. But since they're legal practitioner and it's a situation from a nation to a nation, they decided to actually go to the High Court of Nigeria, that they're forcing the hand, compelling the federal government to take an action on the maltreatment of Nigerians in China. As you can see, the maltreatment of Nigerians in China, and so many other things. And for this pandemic also, so many lives have been lost, activities or businesses have been shut down, broken homes, emotional distress, and all whatnot that everyone suffered. Well, every international bodies have filed a report. In fact, American actually filed trillions of dollars against the Chinese government, and right now, the all the way from the UK to America to all over the place, they are actually filing a lawsuit, and Nigeria actually has been the first in the African continent.
The latest on the list is Nigeria. A group of Nigerian lawyers is suing China. They want $200 billion in damages. Reports cite a statement. The damages are being sought for the loss of lives, economic strangulation, trauma, hardship, social disorientation, mental torture, and disruption of the normal daily existence of people in Nigeria. The lawyers have a two-phase action plan. First, go to the Federal High Court of Nigeria, and then persuade the government to sue China at the International Court of Justice. Africa's anger against China is being fueled by the racist attacks Africans are facing in China. They are battling discrimination and stigma.
They cannot provide a place you can stay.
Social media is awash with videos. This one shows a Chinese police officer harassing an African man.
Sit down! Sit down! Sit down! Sit down! You can sit now. You can sit now. You can sit now.
Another video shows a group of Chinese men attacking an African, with a woman shouting out for help in the background. The exact context or what transpired before and after the video was shot is not clear. Racism and xenophobia are on the rise in China. Reports say thousands of African origin people have been left homeless after being evicted over fears that they could be spreading the coronavirus. This is apparently linked to a cluster of COVID-19 cases in the Nigerian community in the southern city of Guangzhou in China. The African students residing in the area say they have been subjected to arbitrary quarantines and forced evictions. Mohammed, a Guinean student in Guangzhou, narrates his ordeal.
Now, the activity, when you go out, people run away from you. It's very terrible. You'll be like uncomfortable to stay in that country. So every time your family is calling you, asking you about the information, how you are living here, and then how you are struggling, but there is something you cannot tell them because they will feel bad. They will start crying and then worry.
Well, because the reason most of this African government, they cannot say anything because they've sold their soul to the Chinese authority, and most of them, they cannot talk freely. But you know one thing you don't understand, they've been playing game against the African continent for a very long time. This is an high time we play the same game they've been playing against us. Why are you scared? You are owing somebody money. Okay, you're owing a nation money for a very long time, and this money is a debt trap. Well, we have as a continent an opportunity to actually reverse that debt. And how? Well, they actually created a virus that has destroyed the whole world. It has shut the whole world down. Economics has changed. Social system has changed. People have been locked down. People are dead. So many people are actually the victim of this virus that is caused by them. It's a legal, whether we're owing them money or not, we can actually take a legal stand against them. The reason most government, they're actually silent about, attacking is because, for example, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria actually requested the parliament to grant him the permission to get a $6.9 billion loan from the Chinese government, almost $7 billion, which they refused, but they granted him 1.5. That means Nigeria has borrowed $1.5 billion from the Chinese government to build Lagos-Ibadan railway and airports. They allow you to borrow this money, and what most of these African governments are using it for, to build stadiums, to build railroads, to bring tram stations, to build stadiums, and all these things are assets. All these things are liabilities. They are not assets. Because when you have a liability is what you spend money to sustain. An asset is something that brings you money. This is just a mind control debt. By the time they give you so much billions, they create an avenue whereby you cannot get back the money. Automatically, whatever collateral you have given, it has been forfeited. So, for example, Welcome back. Sudan, which has been the original foothold in of Chinese people in Africa, the Chinese people control 75% oil of 75% of the Sudanese oil because of the $6.4 billion loan. The Republic of Congo owns $7.3 billion to build stadiums, upgrade of airports, liability. You know, Kenya, they owe $8 billion to the Chinese government, and actually they too is to build a railroad. And the Chinese actually, the Kenyan government president, Ethiopia actually is indebted to China with $13.5 billion. This is a rough estimate. It may actually have been increased from the $13.5 billion to build railroad and trams. Always liability. And Angola is indebted for $25 billion. It's the Angola government that wants to actually borrow more money. Already they have a $25 billion debt they can never ever pay back again. Well, Chinese are actually a Chinese company, CIF Limited, is actually building a city of Zongo in Angola, and this city, they said after the construction they will actually hand over the property to the government. Are you kidding me? We Africans, we can deceive ourselves. You're owing $25 billion. They're actually making a city where they will live. They're not making a city for you where they will live because they know you cannot pay back the debt you borrowed from them. But fortunately, there is this pandemic that actually is a saving grace for Africans if we use the opportunity prudently. We sue them, we sue their asses, sorry for my language, we sue them, like Nigeria has declared $200 billion. If Angola declare also their own $200 billion or $100 billion, if you sue them $100 billion and we win, your $25 billion debt will be erased. Because with $100 billion, so they will be owing you $75 billion. Well, Nigeria actually took $1.5 billion from them. If we sue them and we sue them for $200 billion, well, they will have $185 billion to give to Nigerians. I'm so excited. I'm really proud to be a Nigerian. It's a very interesting situation happening in Africa. Our eyes are still on you. You're not moving as much as you want. But we see some baby steps you're taking. We're not talking about the president now. Some politicians, the baby steps you're taking, we're very, very proud of you. Now, for example, we have to also focus as we're doing an in-house cleaning in Africa right now. We also have to take into consideration that we need to patronize homemade entrepreneurs. That way, we keep our money home. We need to cut ties. Every stupid contract that has been made by government before can be annulled, and whatever backing they have to solidify the contract for the next administration, we can annul it. They do crazier things to us over here also. We can annul it and have a fresh and reasonable contract. Don't ever give these white people contract more than 2 years. Even 3 years is too much. 2 years. All the 5 years, 10 years, 20 years contract, it is just a trap. No more than 2 years renewable. Because when they behave themselves in 2 years, we renew another 2 years. When they behave themselves, we renew another 2 years. But when you have 5, 10 years contract, solid contract, iron solid contract, it always leads to the destruction of the African. We also have to focus on our foreign policy. We have to change the African foreign policy to favor Africans, because the every foreign policy in anywhere in the world, they always favor the nationals of that country. But only Africans' foreign policy favors external bodies and does not favor Africa. Everybody sees Africa as a gold mine, where we Africans ourselves, we cannot actually get the gold from our own gold mine. Enough is enough. We must kick them out of our country because they treat us badly in their country. They malign our character. They place us in a class with a bad reputation. They manipulate police report to destroy our legal identity, to destroy. They do terrible things to us. They deny us of even professional work. They always create a slave like. They intentionally even create working agency to make sure we live in poverty, and we live from hand to mouth. And anyone such as myself that is able to actually break that line of poverty, they attack our businesses, they sabotage our businesses, they place us in a class with a bad name by slandering our character and manipulating our police report. They are not people that we actually, you see, I see a future whereby when we separate us, because everything you see today, it's the labor of the hands of the melanin race. Anything, infrastructure, anything. They come on, they steal ideas from even computers that organizations distribute in Africa. Those computers are not free. They are cloned computer. Anybody that has a computer, they are, because they are cloned, they are looking at it from their head office, and if you put an important project in those computers, what they do is that they will take the project and build the project up. While you are still in Africa looking for money to build the project, you just say, I built an airplane like that, almost similar to what I built, but you don't know, actually it is your airplane. It is your project. They stole the ideas from you through the computers they give to you. Organization that gives you. One was given to me also by a Nigerian person that either he has sold his soul, most of them have, or rather they deceive him, because these people, they are very deceptive. They turn people against each other. They turn people against each other. They will lie to this one, oh, this one is a criminal, is wanted, or she's wanted. They will turn this one against each other. They will turn you against this one. They will turn this one. That is divide and rule. That is how they flourish. They stigmatize people's character in order to destroy that person. If you're a target, they will stigmatize your character, and they want to separate you from people, so people will think you are doing something terrible. That is why the law enforcement is on your case, where they are the criminals. Now, we have to change all these foreign policies. Also, education. We need to actually exterminate all the educational. First of all, we have people like Wale Soyinka and so many learned people that can actually create and reform our educational system. Every educational, guidelines we have from colonial masters, they are guidelines to place us in not just a poverty mentality, a slave mentality. It's not to educate us, it's just to stay in a position of information, if being informed about nothing. That's why you see universities today, they're filled with occult, they're filled with all kinds of things, because they're not training, they are not educating students again. They do it here also to their own people. No, so don't misunderstand me, because that's their system. We need to revive Africa. We need to actually reform our educational system. Cut off every colonial connection to our system. We need to create our own system in Africa. We need to nobody has a right to influence. We don't need America. We don't need United Kingdom. We don't need France. We don't need anybody. We don't need China. We need to cut off from all of them as a continent. We need to cut off from all of them. Educational system must be looked into, because it's from there they're creating slave mentality for most Africans. That's why you see most melanin today, they have actually the disorganized melanin race from the mindset. That's why when they say some of us that we see beyond their deception, they target us for persecution and oppression. I have been going through that for 15 years. They've been sabotaging my life for 15 years, my work for 15 years, my habitation for 15 years. I have moved so much. I've lost count of places I have moved to. It is a serious issue, and we must take it serious. We're talking about people that we have allowed to hold us in slavery for a very long time. For a very long time. It's just like you give a child candy or whatever the child loves so much, and you have been giving the child for a very long time. All of a sudden you say, oh, the child cannot have it again. The child will go into panic attack, and it will do something dangerous. Because now they are not saying Africa as being where they are stealing from any longer. They are now seeing Africa as a place that is their legal right to steal from us. They don't even see it as stealing. they see it as taken. They even laugh among themselves that they don't ask, they take. The same way they stole my 80,000 worth of properties. I have an online marketing business. 80,000 worth of properties. They manipulated my lawyers. They manipulated the justice system. They manipulated even the authorities. Educational system. We must cut off anything that the colonial masters has actually deposited. We don't need any masters in it. We are our own masters. God Almighty is our God. We are our own masters. So we must change. We must look into the educational system from the nursery school, from the kindergarten to university level. Everything must be changed. We have people that Wale Soyinka, they are capable. I trust my country. We have to promote women, the educational system. Only a fool allows his enemy to teach his children. You see, we are being foolish to allow the colonial master leave guideline of educational system. These are people that have held us captive, and you think they want to educate us. During slave trade, it is forbidden for us to be educated. And now they are living. You think they want to educate us. They don't want to educate us. They want to continuously miseducate us. Even in schools here, there are some students. I will tell you, I schooled here also. There are some students, they take them apart. They train them specially. I'm telling you the gospel truth. They take them apart and train them specially. So all of us coming here to study and whatever, that's why you see some students, they miss it. They begin to take drugs like them. They begin to do all kinds of things like them. They don't know that they want to train among them, they take them away and give them special training. While the general public, whether you go to private school, whether you go to public school, university, it doesn't matter. Whatever education is there, they are just miseducating the whole world. And that's why you see they have the racist system. The racist system actually has been formed to create a mental pattern for both albinoid and the melanin. For the albinoid to have a white supremacist situation whereby they think the world belongs to them. They think stealing from Africa is their legal right. They think misusing, abusing, maltreating, but traumatizing, and dehumanizing the melanin race is their birthright. They don't see it as doing anything wrong. That is how long we have given them the opportunity to abuse us, and enough is enough. Now, we also have to negotiate strategical political relationship that benefits us. Don't let them bring ideas. Then we now reason with their ideas. As they bring their ideas, we bring our own ideas also. Then we wear ideas together. We look at the one that profits Africa as a continent, or whichever nation they are dealing with. So we have to negotiate strategic political relationship that benefits us as a continent. So therefore, all these countries that are indebted to China, you can actually make a move by taking legal actions and demanding for you can demand for whatever losses your country has suffered because of this pandemic. You can demand for damages. Everyone is on their tail. America is actually suing them for trillions of dollars, not billions. We are still actually operating on the billion level. America is actually suing them for trillions. Maybe because it's bigger also, so I can understand. Okay? Nigerian is suing them for 200 billion. $200 billion. That's the way you do it, my dear. So, Lady Abimbola for Melanin and Albinoid Life. Remember, the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So therefore, face your fears, elevate your mind, and resist every temptation to panic. I will see you in my next video. Take care and stay cool.
Trade with each other. Something that simple. We are unable to accomplish it because When you go to that boardroom table with a colonized mind, your thinking is colonized, the outcome is colonized. It is sickening. Even as I sit here, speaking as an ambassador, but also speaking as an African, to see the obvious situations, a brick that needs to be moved from point A to point B. Well, guess what? It's got to go all the way to Z and then back before it gets to D. What is wrong with this picture? It goes back to the mind. The African mind must change. We need more people like this young man here, because what is happening in Africa today is unacceptable. We can't take care of ourselves. We have the largest arable land on the continent, and yet in some countries we are importing food. I sit in some meetings, I will be very honest with you, I am embarrassed. When you look at the things that we are doing as Africans, it's unacceptable. So yes, at the African Union level, we are talking about regional and continental integration. The buzz is there. We all know what needs to be done in order for Africa to move forward. I know there are others who talk about corruption. Oh yes, we know. We got corruption within the country. But while we are working on corruption within our continent, we must also ask for that corruption that has always been there, that is coming from outside. Because that's another corruption that nobody is talking about. They all make it look like, oh, corruption in Africa. Yes, we have corruption, but there's even more corruption coming from outside. I mean, some of you, if you ever have the opportunity to fly low above DRC or some of the Central African countries, you'll find tarmacs in the middle of the jungles. Those are the things I'm talking about, nobody ever talks about. Flights, 737s are flying right into the jungles of DRC, picking up the minerals and flying right out. In the areas of the Kasai, nobody can get to. Who is talking about those feats? Nobody. There is so much more of that corruption. I was a tourist in Kimberley, South Africa, and flights were flying in and flying out, and I thought I was at the international airport. I asked our tour guide, I said, I didn't realize Kimberley, South Africa has an international airport. She said, oh, no. These are planes coming out from outside to pick up the minerals. I'm like, what? Where are they going with the minerals? It's our London Stock Exchange. I'm like, wow. So how does South Africa, how does this, oh, what is it? Oh, no, they get royalties. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the monster in the room. So while we try to work on regional and continental integration, those outsiders with ulterior motives are coming in quietly, creating conflicts. If you look like these Africans are beginning to get it together, next thing you know, there's an uprising, there's conflict here. We too, the Africans, must now wake up and smell the coffee and see what is being done to us and stop it in its tracks. And that's what we are doing from the African Union now.
Bravo.
South Africa has an international airport. She said, oh, no. These are planes coming out from outside to pick up the minerals. I'm like, what? Where are they going with the minerals? It's our London Stock Exchange. I'm like, wow. So how does South Africa, how does this, oh, what is it? Oh, no, they get royal.
The day that the black man takes an uncompromising step and realizes that he's within his rights, when his own freedom is being jeopardized, to use any means necessary to bring about his freedom or put a halt to that injustice, I don't think he'll be by himself.
On December 4th, 2018, the Oxford Union invited Chairman Amalia Yeshitela to participate in the Oxford debates. The invitation read, Dear Mr. Yeshitela, I hope this email finds you well. I am writing to extend an invitation to speak at the Oxford Union in our forthcoming term. Founded in 1823, the Oxford Union is the largest society at the University of Oxford and one of the most famous student societies in the world. In the past, we have hosted visits ranging from U.S. Presidents Reagan, Nixon, and Carter to Morgan Freeman and Malcolm X. Moreover, we are famous for debating the most important and pressing issues of the day, from a liberty and security debate last year to the King and Country debate of 1933. We would love for you to be a part of this tradition and speak on the motion, "This House believes the left must reclaim populism." With a lifetime of fighting for freedom for African people, you are a globally inspiring champion for racial equality and socialism. Your vision has been crucial to shaping the theory of African internationalism and indeed the socialist movement worldwide. This timely debate would be hugely benefited by your irreplaceable perspective and input. The topic would later change to "Should this House embrace an ever closer African Union?" And the debate was themed the Africa Debate.
It's because of young Africans right here in Ferguson who stood up.
Chairman Amalia Shatella accepted the invitation, bringing the theory of African internationalism to the world stage.
I cannot stand before this August rally without prefacing my statement in defense of closer unity of Africa, without stating first my unconditional solidarity with President Maduro and the government and people of Venezuela who are currently under attack, savage attack, by the declining world hegemony of the United States. I think it's absolutely necessary to say that, coming from that country, and especially looking at the fact that the United States travels the world cleaning, presenting itself as the guardian of democracy and the rights of the peoples around the world, where the reality is that Africans who are colonized in the United States represent at least half of the largest prison population in the world. There are more Africans in prison in the United States than there are people in Djibouti or in Equatorial Guinea. And so we find it very difficult also recognizing that by their own estimates, it would take 228 years for the income of Africans colonized in the United States to equal that of the colonial white population. So it is absolutely necessary for me to stand here today before you, expressing total opposition to the United States government's terroristic actions against the people of Venezuela, with an attempt to starve the people into opposition to their government. Mr. President, brothers and sisters, comrades, it is also necessary for us to say that this question of a closer union with Africa, or between Africans, or within Africa, is not a purely academic question, despite the fact that this debate has occurred within the pinnacle of bourgeois academia. That there is a natural, historical inclination for Africa and African people to be united, which is one of the reasons I am here today. The truth of the matter is that this discussion about the unity of Africa, union of Africans, started much earlier than any incursion, as it might be characterized, of China or the Trump administration into Africa. Reality is that Africa came under assault some 600 years ago, when Portugal first came and captured African people and initiated a process that would begin capitalism and would establish and consolidate the identity of Europeans in the world. It is a reality that capitalism rests upon a foundation of African slavery. Africans were first capital. And in order for this to occur and to we're talking about having this discussion in part because in 1884-85, Europeans sat at a table in Berlin, Germany, not a single African there, and carved up Africa into the territories that we now sometimes call countries and illogically refer to as nations. Africans didn't do that. It was Europe that did that. It was Europe and imperialism that required Africa to be divided so that the resources of Africa, both human and material, could come and pave the streets in London and grow the buildings in Amsterdam and bring clean water to New York, while the streets in Sierra Leone are not paved. And the people in Sierra Leone do not have clean water. And there's no national electric grid there. It is necessary to keep Africa divided by European imperialism and by all the imperialism in order to continue to suck the resources from Africa so that cell phones could exist here, so that Steve Jobs and others could achieve some great